If you're hanging out on the north side of Houston, you've got to check out the Farm Drinkery. It's an awesome dive bar located in Spring off of Champions Forest in Louetta. They've got 22 beers on tap, which you know what that means. They are representing the H-Town beer scene. But that's not all. They got great food too. My personal recommendation is to try out the world-famous wings. But the only thing better than an awesome new dive bar is a beer and food discount. You heard it. Beering Ain't Easy podcast listeners can go in and give the code BeerNerd20 for 20% off your bill. That's BeerNerd20 for 20% off. Come for the great atmosphere and stay for the free high fives.
God damn, I need IPA.
This is Beering Ain't Easy, your podcast for beer humor, dad humor, and beer tastings from Texas and beyond. So crack one if you got one and turn it up.
Welcome to Beering Ain't Easy, Season 2, Episode 12. With Drew, Ryan, and drumroll please, Adam. He's back.
Shaking the dust off, huh?
Oh, yeah. I'm back. Better than ever. Back from my sabbatical.
Glad to have you. So for the listeners out there, this is the episode you've been looking for. We talked about it a few episodes ago. It is the sibling rivalry across the state of Texas, Houston versus Dallas. And the Beering Ain't Easy podcast is going to solve all the problems between those two cities in the only way that we know how, and that's a blind tasting of hazy IPAs.
A blind duel.
Yeah, we need to talk about this because you came out hot a few episodes ago with your Dallas hate. Are you nervous about how this is going to turn out?
I think before I jump into that, I think, Ryan, you need to introduce our highly esteemed guest on the podcast tonight, representing the city of Dallas.
That is fair. So I've mentioned him a few times on the podcast, the guy that brought me into craft beer and taught me basically everything I know about it. His name's Wes. He moved up to Dallas a year or two ago. He can expound on that, but Wes, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, Wes, born and raised in Houston, so I'm definitely from Houston, and got to know Ryan when we both bought a house 2 doors down from each other. And then this past year, just over a year ago, I moved up to Dallas for work. So been up here for a year, been dying to get out with everything going on in the world. So did a lot of brewery searching around here, some that I knew, some that I didn't. So I've gotten to experience both Houston and Dallas scenes. Still learning process, but it's still good. It's good.
So if you taught Ryan everything he knows about craft beer, and Ryan taught me, and I more or less taught Adam,
I know nothing still.
I think Wes, that makes you the unofficial godfather of the Beering Ain't Easy podcast, and that's about the highest esteemed position that we could grace upon you today.
I'll take it. I like it.
So don't fuck this up.
No pressure.
So Drew, you're not allowed to dodge this bullet. I need to hear your thoughts. Have you softened up on Dallas at all?
I have, in my travels across the United States, run into people from Texas, and usually when it's out of state, like when I lived in California, and I'd be like, "Oh, you're from Texas. I'm from Texas. Let's hang out because we have this bond." And then we started talking about where we're from, and multiple times someone would be like, find out I was from Houston, and they would give me the, "Ooh, you live in Houston?" And they were 100% of the time from Dallas. And so I started growing this like Houston-sized chip on my shoulder. But I did quickly realize that going on blast on Dallas on our podcast kind of made me just as much of an asshole.
So did this happen more than once?
It did. It happened twice. That was enough. So I still love Houston, but I do have friends and family in Dallas, so it may have been a little extreme. So I will use the cop-out that my wife uses anytime she says something that's not 100% accurate. It's how I was feeling at that moment, and feelings are real, so it's okay. Y'all heard that one before?
Yeah, I've heard that.
It's a family tradition.
No, I feel the same way a little bit. I didn't have the maybe as aggressive an approach as you did on the previous podcast, but there was always a rivalry between Houston and Dallas, and it's kind of odd living up here now. And I can see where some of those thoughts come from, obviously, but it's not all like that. So you got to find the right spots.
Would you say that your opinion has changed at all since you've lived up there?
Yeah, we found a real good place to live, which really helps. A lot of good people, but then just going to breweries and talking to people too is always fun. Something that I did a lot in Houston. The local brewery I go to, they donate pizza to my kids' school, and so my son gets their pizza all the time. And so I talked to him about that, and next thing I know, he was pouring me pours from the tanks in the back, and you just got to find the right place to fit in.
How long ago did you get into beer?
I would say it started actually when I was pretty young. My dad was kind of into beer, and I would go with him to the Richmond Arms in Houston. And they always had a glass night. We ended up with like thousands of glasses. But I started doing that. But then I really started to get into it when I moved into the house next to you, Ryan. And I would go to this bar close by, and pretty much every week. And for like 3 months, I didn't have the same beer twice. And so, rest in peace to Petrol Station. But that's really where it started. And I, would try new beer. They just rotated beers over and over. And that was really the stem of it all.
So I got to come in hot with the Houston versus Dallas question. Now that you've had a chance to explore the Dallas brewery scene, which brewery scene is superior? And don't you dare say
I would say they're very different. There are some similarities. You have, some big established breweries in Houston, like the St. Arnold's of the world. You have a couple here, like the Community's been around for a big time, and they're pretty large now, not as old, obviously. But they're different, the different scenes, a lot of the kind of breweries that have good settings and places to go to in Houston are kind of on the outskirts of Houston. There's a few that are good. There's a lot of breweries in Dallas that have restaurants, not just food trucks. And so it's just, I think it's just a different scene overall. I wouldn't say one's superior than the other. So I pretty much just did not give you any answer at all.
Completely dodged it.
So I will repeat the question.
I will say this: the beer I drank regularly in Houston was available in stores. The beer I drink regularly in Dallas is not available in stores. Breweries only.
Interesting.
So I have a 6-pack of St. Arnold's, art car in the fridge here. I get that all the time. But when I was in Houston, I would go pick up Eureka Heights over at Kroger or whatnot. When I wanted like Great Heights or something like that, I'd have to go there. And that's kind of similar to kind of what I do here is when most of the beer I pick up around here, other than the art cars, direct sale at the brewery.
So I was in Dallas a couple of months ago. One thing I was really baffled by is how much cheaper the to-go beer was, like the 4-packs to go at the breweries in Dallas compared to Houston.
Well, you didn't go to the 2 breweries that we're going to have today, so.
They're up in the $20+ per 4-pack range.
Yeah.
Well, I sense a segue here. Do we want to introduce the topic and what beer?
Let's introduce the beers.
So we're going to do the honors of allowing our guest, Wes, to introduce our Dallas beers today. So Wes, tell us what we're drinking.
Yeah, so we have 2 different breweries from, I would say, the Dallas area. One is pretty much in the center of Dallas, and that is Celestial Beerworks. And we're drinking their Apollo 11 IPA. This is a hazy New England IPA. And that brewery's been around since about 2018. I did a little research, and the guy and his wife own it. He was a former mechanical engineer and turned home brewer, went and got his license brewing degree from the Brewers Guild, worked at a little homebrew restaurant type thing, and then ended up starting his own brewery. So there's hope for you, Ryan. And it's a great little brewery. They mainly focus on hops. So, of like the 12 beers on tap or so, they have about 8 to 9. But they also do stouts, pilsners, and some fruit forward kind of slushy sour beers as well. So across the board, pretty good brewery. Very good brewery, actually.
Thanks.
The second brewery that we're going to have from tonight is Turning Point. Turning Point is in Bedford, Texas, so a little suburb over on the west side of Dallas, really close to the DFW airport. I have been frequenting them for quite some time as my in-laws live very close to them, so I've been enjoying them for a while, and they are as well pretty much hazy forward, but they do a wide array of sour stouts as well. But their tap room is predominantly hazy IPAs as well, and we are drinking Assault is Next by them.
So this brewery is your excuse to get out of the house frequently?
Well, every time we go over and visit the in-laws, which is like a 30-minute drive, it's always a good excuse to pop out and go get some beer.
So Ryan, do you want to do the honors on introducing the Houston beers?
The first one we have is Great Heights Fruity Pellets. I will give the honors to you to do the last one, considering your passion for this one.
It would only be proper that Drew and I jointly introduce SpindleTap, Heavy Hands.
Adam and I had this discussion right before the episode about a little nervousness that if we could not pinpoint a SpindleTap hazy out of this lineup, then we may have to shut the podcast down.
Fortunately, we did the 3 cents test. So as soon as we saw the beers, we all agreed which beer was Heavy Hands just from the visual. Then we smelled them, and without a doubt, we identified Heavy Hands. And then we did the taste, and 100% Heavy Hands. So we felt like if we did any one of those individually, we would have definitively been able to identify it.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, I mean, in the least surprising news of the year, we did a hazy showdown and we had to include SpindleTap.
So any objectivity in this analysis is gone.
So Ryan, we need to understand the scoring system here. So we've got 4 beers. We're blind tasting.
Somewhat.
We don't know what they are. So like, are we doing a cumulative score? So the Houston plus Houston and Dallas versus Dallas, and that's how we're going to decide who's got the top?
Yes. So yeah, we're blind tasting 3 of them apparently.
Winner take all.
Winner take all.
Yeah.
So we're going to take each of our scores, and each person's top ranked beer is going to get 4 points on down to 1 point for their last ranked beer. And then we're going to add all those scores up. And then at the end, we're going to reveal which beers are which, and then add the scores together and see who has more points, Dallas or Houston. And that's going to determine who wins the ultimate hazy showdown.
I like it. I do have to like point out that normally we have our wives that will pour our beers for us, and it makes it pretty easy because they'll pour it and they'll write the numbers and they'll share it. Ryan didn't have his wife at the house today, and so he came up with like the most complicated pouring methodology I've ever seen in my life, and he emailed it to us, and I read it once, and thank God that Wes's wife like could decipher what Ryan was talking about, because I read it and my eyes went like cross-eyed.
She couldn't. I had to like do a live instructional like thing for her to understand what was going on. But we got it after one try, so that was successful.
So if Ryan gets every beer right, we know. Let's all be honest. He probably spent 2 hours coming up with this email to make everyone think. He wrote the names of the beer on the cups.
It was long enough. It may have taken him 2 hours to write it.
Yeah, by the time I poured all the glasses and put all the cans in the fridge, and then I went to go put all the glasses back in the fridge, I had already forgotten what was what. So this whole like ruse was like pointless. But I'm trying to be upstanding here. At least one of us on this podcast has to be. Damn it!
I appreciate your high sense of morality on the show.
It's called integrity.
So I think the real question, like, we need to make some bold predictions before we go into this. So knowing the scoring method, Adam, who is going to come out on top, Houston or Dallas?
Houston by a landslide.
By a landslide. All right.
My prediction is every single person will have Heavy Hands as the number one beer.
That's the bold prediction. Okay.
All right. There's the bold prediction.
And I think Fruity Pellets is going to hold its own too.
Okay. So Wes, what do you think? Knowing what you know about Houston and Dallas, which one of these cities is going to come out victorious today?
I think it'll be relatively close. Obviously we all know Heavy Hands, and so it's kind of a bias, I feel like. But
it's only a bias if you think it's the best beer.
That is true.
If you can identify it,
I
still don't think it's the best.
So I ask you for your honest opinions then. We'll see. I don't know. I think I know what everyone is, but I don't know if I may be completely off. That's the beauty of this.
What's your confidence in which one Fruity Pellets is?
Not very confident.
I feel the same way.
I thought I would be able to identify it really quickly, and I'm really struggling with it.
And I'm not surprised. Fruity Pellets is kind of it's hazy, but it's not bold hazy. Obviously, Heavy Hands is a little bit more bold. And so I think it's subtleness. And, when you start drinking other hazies with the fruitiness, they all start to blend together.
Yeah. As we're drinking, I keep changing my ranking because I keep like it's warming up a little bit. I'm like, ooh, I like that one a little better now.
I have one ranking down, and that is number one. I have none others.
I'm done. I'm done. My rankings are written in blood over here.
So I skipped Ryan. So Ryan, what is your prediction here?
So here's the thing. I know Wes went to particular places and was very thoughtful about selecting some really good hazies. I don't think that can dethrone SpindleTap. So I think we're going to get a situation where Heavy Hands is first, the Dallas beers take second, third, and Fruity Pellets, not that it's a bad beer, but just pulls up the end, which means with the scoring system we set up, it's going to be a dead even tie if that comes to fruition. So that's my bold prediction, is we're getting a dead even tie.
And what do we do if we come out in a tie?
We run it back.
Yes. Thank you. We all shotgun a beer. We all shotgun a Heavy Hands. We all shotgun a Heavy Hands if that happens.
Luckily, I don't have any more here.
That's a brutal beer to chug, man.
So I agree with what you kind of said earlier, Drew. Is like as these are warming up, I feel like the fruitiness has really started to pop in a lot of these, and it's making it very difficult.
I really like a lot of these hazies for different reasons.
All of them I thought were really good. All of them I thought were good.
Yeah, just to clarify, there's no losers here.
Well, I did see a funny meme the other day that was talking about, what's the point of doing a tasting of hazies because they all taste the same. So that's the other myth we need to bust today is there enough differentiation in the flavor profile of these hazies to really tell a difference? Can we actually make a descriptor for any of those other than it's a fruity juice bomb?
Yeah, I'm sitting that game out. So Wes, have you ever sat down and done a blind tasting like this before?
I have a while ago. So I don't know. I think it was over Christmas. We did
Have you done it? Have you done it with the whole world watching?
I have not. This is a first for the entire world. Listening, hopefully not watching. No, I did an IPA tasting. I do have the cameras on. I did an IPA tasting years ago over at my dad's house. We did I think 6 or 8 different IPAs, and we got maybe 1 out of 6 right. It was kind of crazy. Just a bunch of I was back before hazies were a thing, so it was all West Coast styles. But that was the last time I can remember actually doing a true blind tasting like this.
We have a pretty impressive cumulative record on the show for blind tastings.
I love them. I wish I would do more of them.
They're so fun.
Next time you do it, I'll be on and just not talk. Just type notes. Yeah.
It is one of the most fun things to do.
It really is.
Yeah.
So speaking of not talking, Wes, I'm going to ask you another question. So I have this hypothesis about Dallas versus Houston that I need you to verify.
I'll do my best.
I feel like Dallas is a lot more formal when people go out than Houston is. And the brewery scene is not like you don't see people in hoodies and stuff. They're wearing nice clothes. They're not wearing what?
Are you judging my outfit?
I looked over at Adam when I said this. Adam's definitely dressed like a Houstonian today. Yeah. But like I tried when we were in Dallas and we were driving back to Ennis, and I was like, I wanted to go to a brewery that was right off the highway, so I tried to pop into Deep Ellum, and that place was just jam packed with people, and they were like wearing clubbing clothes, and there was a line like 40 deep getting to the bar, and I was like, oh shit, I'm not waiting for this, and I just went back in my car. And I was like, it was obviously a hopping place. People were wanting to hang out there, so I need you to give us the insight to the Dallas beer scene, Wes.
Hold on, before Wes answers, did the bouncer kick you out because you didn't meet the dress code?
I was wearing flip flops and a t-shirt. He gave me the look like, you must be from Houston, bitch.
Well, the last time I went to Deep Ellum, I did not live in Dallas. So I have not been there since I've lived up here, and probably because of it's in Deep Ellum. Deep Ellum's a cool place. It has lots of bars and stuff, but that's kind of the Edo or kind of Montrose, Washington area of Dallas, or one of them, I would say. The other one is Bishop Arts. It's a really cool area as well, but that's more heightsy, I'd say, fancier. So it's kind of the similar of like going to maybe Baylison's or going over to, obviously Eighth Wonder is a little bit different, but that kind of area of where you find yourself in that type of part of town. I just, it's been around for a while. It's been bought out by multiple different people. I think it's owned by Monster Energy or something now, ultimately. So, I just think you found yourself in a unique part of town.
Okay. A part of town that doesn't take too kindly to your tech.
I can guarantee you I have never dressed up going to a brewery unless I've gone directly from work. Well, even now I work from home, so never dressed up going to a brewery here, and most people are not as well. So let's bust that myth pretty quickly. I think it's just part of town.
Mythbuster.
The follow-up question is obviously related to this podcast. Is how is the brewery scene for bringing kids? Are there lots of kid-friendly breweries in Dallas?
I have not taken my kids too many places. I have to kind of debunk Adam's statement about the one brewery that he went to, or one of the breweries that he went to in Manhattan. I love taking my kids there because they're open early. They have really good food. The French fries are incredible. And they have a little small turf section outside. And as long as you come prepared, there's stuff to do for them. It's not, but it is kind of inner city, so there's not a lot of piece of land. The other brewery by my house I go to is Vector. I go there quite often. They make their homemade pizza, and they have a whole section for kids that, again, is turfed, but it's on the patio. And so it's a really good area. Other than that, I haven't really taken my kids too many places. We are kind of in the city, unlike you three. And so the breweries outside of the city tend to have a little bit more space sometimes. So had to throw that knock in there.
Yeah, throw some shade on the suburb dads over here.
Ouch.
Hey, Ryan, do you want to ask Wes how the restroom situation is in Dallas breweries? I know it's important to you.
What's your favorite restroom and least favorite restroom at a brewery in Dallas? Go.
And why?
Speechless. Only you can determine that question.
Ryan, there's only one way to solve this. Ryan needs to go to Dallas and give him the old 2 cheek towels.
Ryan will go on a brewery bathroom challenge. He will go to every brewery's bathroom and make an assessment.
I'm running out of places in Houston. The ultimate chase has got to extend up to Dallas.
BYOTP. All right. Are we ready to decipher This challenge?
I think so.
I had a lot of trouble, but I have settled on my answers.
All right. I think it's only proper that we let Wes go first.
Guess first.
All right. They were all honestly very good. So it was a very tough decision to make one of them my least favorite of the four, which is not the right way to say it, but not as good as the others. So I will go with beer number 1 was my number 4.
All right, Ryan, what is your least favorite beer and why?
So the student apparently learns from the master. Beer number 1 was also 4th on my list, but I agree with Wes. I want to make it very clear that it was still very good and I enjoyed it very much. This one, it seemed like maybe Citra hop shined through on this one more than some of the others. Like it just hit me one time when I was sipping it, and that was like the distinct flavor I got from it. So that's the only thing that stood out to me about it. It was maybe a slightly less intense than the others, and I think that's the only reason why it lagged behind a little bit.
Interesting.
What you got, Adam?
Beer number 4 was my least favorite.
Any reason why?
It wasn't as good as the others.
All right. Man, a few words. I think we're starting to prove that hazies all taste the same. So I'll go different from all the rest that have been mentioned. My least favorite was actually beer number 2. Wow. But as it warmed up right at the end, I was like, damn, this is still really good hazy. So like that one originally I didn't think was very good. The only thing differentiating, I make them be completely off on it, but I see one of our beers has mosaic hops in it, and I felt like there was mosaic hops in there, but I could be completely off on it.
That's most likely the case.
90% chance I'm off.
Are you not a fan of mosaic hops?
He doesn't really know.
I don't know. Maybe not in a hazy. Like I like mosaic. Like I like smash IPAs and stuff. I don't know.
Well, then speaking of Dallas breweries, then try Community's IPA, because that is mostly all mosaic, as well as a suburb of Houston, the Yellow Rose.
Yellow Rose.
Yellow Rose is a smash IPA with mosaic hops.
I love Yellow Rose.
That
I love
is a
smash IPAs.
Delightful beer.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess we'll go reverse order on number 3. I'll just kick us off with that. So my number 3 beer was actually beer number 1. So I wasn't too far off from Wes and Ryan on that.
My number 3 beer was beer number 2.
Yeah, my third place beer was also beer number 2. It seemed pretty similar to beer number 1. It just was like a little bit more complex, I think. So I just gave it just a little bump. So what you got, Wes?
My number 3 beer was beer number 4. Again, you just had a little bit more flavor profile, I guess, than number 1 for me.
Man, so we got quite the spread here.
We do.
So far.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah, scorekeeper's got a lot of work to keep up on this one.
All right. The mic is yours, Wes. Your number 2 favorite beer.
My number 2 favorite beer, now don't judge me, was beer number 3.
Ooh.
Wow.
And I will say why. This beer is very good, but there's a few factors that stand out consistently with this brewery. It tastes powdery at times. It is extremely acidic. And this one was a little bit boozy compared to the others.
Those are all the great things.
Problem is,
I will save my judgment for the good Lord.
Let's put a little bookmark here, and we're going to come back to this afterwards and talk about this.
We'll discuss this off air.
All right. Let's go to Adam. Adam, what you got?
Number 2 was number 1, but I thought it was very close to the prior beer.
my second favorite was beer number 4.
Beer number 4 was also my second place beer.
Attaboy, Ryan.
Homers.
Which means that my first one was beer number 3. I mean, do we need to go through and hear what you guys said?
I think we got 3 number 3s on the table. And Wes, what did your number 1 beer end up being?
My number 1 was number 2. I thought it was juicier, which is what a hazy is supposed to be like, is more than the others. The nose was good. At times going from beer to beer, the nose became subtle, but as soon as I took a sip, I felt like it was significantly juicier and fruitier than the other beers, which is what I truly enjoy myself in a hazy.
All right. Now we have to bold predictions on the beers. I think we got to throw them out there before we get the grand reveal.
I'll go first. I think Heavy Hands was number 3. I think.
Does anyone disagree with that?
Yeah.
So, okay. Now we're going back to my thought. I 100% agree with you, Wes, on the can be powdery and they're super acidic. And I think that's not an accident. I think that's intentional. The other part, you're saying it's boozier than you're used to from them. I actually was not able to make it to the brewery and pick it up fresh, so I bought it at the store, and these were canned on January 20th. So they're almost a month old in cans. So I was a little bit concerned about if there was going to be a little bit of degradation with it, and I feel like maybe there was. So
I don't know, though. Adam and I have done some extensive research on SpindleTap, and I feel like that the
1 month is prime.
1 month is prime. I think you can even go I think anything more than 6 weeks, you're starting to get into dangerous territory. But 1 month is prime.
To be honest, 3 weeks to 6 weeks is the prime zone. That's what
you get out of the green zone.
My extensive R&D department has concluded is 3 to 6 weeks is perfect. The perfect zone.
You heard it here first.
My beer nerdiness at times will take over, and I have heard the same thing from multiple people. I don't know how Heavy Hands will be different because now it's mass produced, being canned and distributed everywhere versus their special releases. But I heard quite often that when you picked up their special releases, week 2 or week 3 is when you should start drinking them, not day 1.
Especially Candy Green. Yeah. Gotta let that simmer a bit.
Yeah, let that settle down.
All right. Anybody else have any bold predictions on the beers? 'Cause I'm ducking out on all the Dallas beers.
I will turn it over to Drew because he's trying to deflect. Which beer is Fruity Pellets?
So the 2 Houston beers are the only ones I've had before. I really had a difficult time with this. I just went ahead and said number 4. I thought number 4 was Fruity Pellets.
And was that your number 2 beer?
It was.
Such a fucking homer.
So write down your guess and then your rankings. Is that how this competition works?
I fell victim to that in the Houston IPA challenge where I tried to force Mini Boss where I thought was Mini Boss, and I ranked it second, and it was actually something different.
Okay, Ryan, which beer did you think was Fruity Pellets?
My guess was beer number 1.
Interesting, because my guess was beer number 1 as well.
Wow.
My guess was beer number 1 as well.
Oh, shit. Shit.
I mean, you say shit.
How have I flipped to be less than Adam on tasting beers? That's what I want to know.
It's just...
It doesn't mean you're wrong.
I was going to say, we haven't revealed it yet.
It does.
I don't know.
As far as I'm concerned, he's wrong.
If both Ryan and Wes pick something, I'm sunk. No, you're inconsequential.
Well, Drew, it was nice knowing you in the beer assessment
category.
All right, Wes, which beers are which for the Dallas beers?
I believe number 2 is Celestial and 4 is Turning Point.
All right. We're gonna test you on that.
So in just a blind 50-50 guess, I put that same order down. So our guess list is exactly the same.
Hold on. I need it. Ryan, can you show me your ratings on paper? I need to validate it. The ink looks too fresh.
Don't you remember he rigged the whole thing anyways?
Yeah. Yeah, that's obvious.
Are we ready for the great reveal here?
The grand reveal.
The way that Meredith had it written out is number 1 through 4. So we're just going to go beer number 1 through beer number 4.
The fourth place beer received 7 points, and and that was beer number 1. Beers 2 and 4 received 9 points and tied for second, and beer 3 received 15 points and was in first place. Kind of a runaway. So, I'm curious to hear the reveal here and hear what's up.
All right. So beer number 1, which was the last place beer in the challenge. Drum roll, please. Fruity Pellets.
Woo!
Ooh, Houston taking a really nosedive here with the first number 4.
There's no nosedive there. From being at both places, great heights makes a great beer. I have frequented there also. I was on a first name basis there, FYI. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing.
It means I think, have we established that you're a professional beer drinker, Wes?
Most days, yes.
Because Houston's a big city, and I got to share this story before we reveal the next beer. Is there was one time where Ryan and I were hanging out with family. We were taking a family trip, and we wanted to go to a brewery. And we showed up at Astral, and
I was with you guys.
Oh yeah, you were there too, right?
Yeah.
And Wes was there, so I was like, Wes, are you always at a brewery?
Yes. The answer is yes.
All right.
All right. Beer number 2. Assault is next.
Ooh.
By Turning Point. So looks like you had the Dallas beers flip-flopped, maybe?
I did.
And for the listeners out there, that was the number 2 favorite beer from everybody is Assault is next.
Tied for second.
Tied.
Yeah.
So both Dallas beers tied for second.
Maybe.
We'll find out with beer number 3.
We will find out.
Can we reveal beer number 4 first, or is that not?
Yeah, we can do that. I can.
Beer number 4 is the other tied for second, so do 4 first.
Beer number 4. Apollo 11.
SpindleTap.
Which means that beer number 3, the number 1 beer in all the land.
All the world.
Heavy Hands by SpindleTap.
So I will take this opportunity to say that I was accurate in my prediction that Heavy Hands would win and that the Dallas beers would take second, third.
I need another sample of beer number 2, Drew. I need to see what Wes is seeing.
Here's a funny thing is that when I went to the breweries, I thought Apollo 11 was better than Assault, which is why I ranked number 2 Celestial.
So Ryan, now that we know like the total score, what is the total Houston versus Dallas score? Is it a complete split or?
No, it's a runaway.
I wouldn't say runaway, but
So it's it's not a runaway, but there is a definite winner here. The final tally is 22-18.
A landslide.
That's pretty close. Close.
I want to try to build the suspense, but the fact that Heavy Hands kind of ran away with the high score tips it off. Houston won 22-18 over Dallas.
yeah, I was hoping to get something different at Turning Point, but while they had 12 IPAs on tap, they only had 3 cans to go. But I love them both. I love Houston and Dallas, so I'm not biased.
I don't know. You sound pretty defensive over here.
I'm getting defensive because I would probably say my favorite hazy IPA brewery in the Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston area would be Turning Point.
But so like your favorite hazy, you must prefer like a little lighter, more balanced hazy than a SpindleTap, because we all just love these juice bombs that like knock you out of the way.
It's not subtleness. I think it's the acidity for the SpindleTap that gets me, that I don't really like. You get the juiciness and stuff, but then, that acidic kind of burn, I like a smoother taste in my beer. I get triple IPAs above 10% almost all the time from Turning Point. That's something that they have quite often, is 2 or 3 triple IPAs on draft all the time. So your triple haze that you're comparing it to, like, I really enjoy that. So it's not necessarily a subtleness. It's just that distinct kind of acidity that puts it behind maybe Turning Point for me.
Agree to disagree.
And that's why we do this, right?
Yeah, I'd rank the Turning Point a number 3, which was the one you ranked your number 1. And right at the end, I had 1 sip left of everything, and I went back and took a sip of it, and I just got like straight juice, where I realized like the other ones, had a lot more like kind of bitterness, acidity. And I understand what you're saying. I was like, I see why this is like super good. Which I don't think we can say it enough times. These were all very good.
Well, I think that's a great segue, is that we've addressed the fact that there's a rivalry between the two cities. There's no rivalry with the rest of Texas. I mean, I forgot to mention, stay out of this, Austin, when I introduced the episode. But this is all about Houston and Dallas. So what can bring the two cities together? Our hazy IPA is the segue to the partnership of the two cities.
It's Wes. Wes is the only linkage between the two cities.
The missing link.
All the weight is on his shoulders.
Wes, what are the keys to bring these two cities closer?
It has to be this. We have to have a 4-brewery collaboration. Or a blending session and see what happens.
Oh, shit. I'm doing a 3-beer mixing experiment as we speak.
I love it.
All right. So today, I think we've solved the Houston versus Dallas challenge. Houston is obviously victorious, obviously. But we have learned that we can unite the two cities and make Texas the greatest hazy manufacturer in all of the United States. So, Wes, final thoughts. Anything you want to shout out to in the Dallas area that are must see?
It's a great brewery scene. There's a lot of newer upcoming breweries around. On Rotation is kind of a cool place. Obviously, I went over to Turning Point. Right next to Turning Point is False Idol. False Idol's great. Vector, like I mentioned earlier, is one of my favorites. Lake Highlands Brewery. There's a lot of good breweries up here for you to visit and, get a wide array of different types of beers. So go visit your breweries, support them.
So I've mixed everything but Heavy Hands in my glass, and I've got, this is the cure
to cancer.
To the cancer that is Houston versus Dallas.
Yes.
We'll see y'all next week.
Renamed the New England IPA the Texas IPA.
Damn straight.
Go in peace. Serve SpindleTap.
This has been a Beering Ain't Easy production out of Houston, Texas. Follow us on Instagram or Facebook, or at our website at crossthestreamsmedia.com, where you can find our podcast and all the other great sister podcasts on our network.
This has been a Cross the Streams Media Podcast.